If you've been wondering what is going on with the housing market, this is the video for you. This is Evan Whaley with the Whaley Group at Real Broker LLC. I'm super excited to bring you our Q1 housing market update. Let's start off and talk about what is going on. So right now what we've been seeing is interest rates have been climbing compared to the numbers that we have seen in 2020 all the way to kind of the middle of 2022. So what that's been doing is it's been creating a little bit of fear for buyers. Costs have gotten higher, so maybe they need to not stretch their budget quite as much. Or maybe they need to consider renting and people are waiting out these interest rates. So let's talk a little bit more about what is that actually doing with our housing market? Are home prices going down? That's a question I've been getting asked a lot. Is the market going to collapse? So these are all things that I want to address in this video. Let's talk about the actual facts of what we're seeing in the market today. And this is local. This is all of our stats here in our local MLS in the Greenville area. So first, let's talk about what's happened through the entire year. So this is all the way to February at this point of filming. We've seen that homes getting put on the market is up about 3%, which is great. We've needed inventory, so that's been a big benefit and something that buyers have really appreciated because now they have more options to find the right home for them. Next thing that we have noticed is that we've actually had less buyers out there due to these interest rates and all the things that I mentioned just a few seconds ago. So what that's done is we actually have sold less homes so far year to date compared to 2022 at this point. We are actually down 21% in sales. Now this does not mean the market's going to collapse. This does not mean it's a time to panic or anything like that. I'll explain that a little bit further after I get through all the facts so that we can build the whole story here so I can share everything with you. The next thing that we're noticing is that it's taking longer for those sellers to get their home sold. What we're seeing on average for the year is it's taking 54 days. Now, you'll still hear stories of people selling their home with multiple offers in the first weekend, and then you hear some other stories of people who unfortunately maybe didn't get the right marketing or pricing or whatever it might be, and they're not selling their home as quickly as what they're used to, and they're taking 180 days. They're taking a long time to get that property sold. So it's really important now to hire the right real estate professional to work on your behalf to get your home sold in the right amount of time. Keep that in mind. The next thing I really wanted to talk about is inventory. What's happened? So we've noticed, okay, we've got more listings. Sounds like sales are down. So what does that mean for the number of options? We actually almost have 3 times the amount of homes that are on the market currently for sale that a buyer could go buy compared to what we had back at this point in 2022. Which again, that was an extremely on fire, hot market that we're not likely to see again, or at least not anytime soon. Now, what does that really mean? Let's correlate that to historical terms here in Greenville. All this stuff with how long it's taken to sell a home, the number of homes on the market, sales being down, all of that. The things that people really need to consider are that the last 2.5 years were anomalies. We had historically low interest rates. We had people moving through all out the country because of being able to work from home. We had all these things that were in play that created this kind of pent up demand for housing. So when we're comparing stuff year over year, especially at this point in 2022, which is, at that point was the absolute hottest the market had been, we're gonna notice that sales are gonna be down. It's gonna take longer to sell a home. And we're pretty close to where we were before all the pandemic started in 2019 as far as stats of homes that are on the market that are listed for sale, how long it's taken to sell a home, and even, and this is my next point in this video, what we're seeing as far as appreciation for homes. If we look at the median price in our area, a home is $294,000, and that's up 3.2%, which when we look at historical appreciation in the real estate market, it's around 3 to 4%. So we're falling right back in line there. So we're not seeing this hyperinflation, hyper competitive market again, where we're just driving up prices, 10, 15, even 20% at some point that I saw in the past 2.5 years. We're moving more towards a normal real estate market. If we look at average price, our average price in the area is about $346,000, which is up 5.8% compared to this point last year. So still seeing above historic numbers for average price. So to the people who are asking, is the market going to collapse? right now, from a national and even a local standpoint, we're not seeing any indications of that. What we see is 3 out of every 4 homeowners actually has significant equity in their home. So if anything happened and they had any financial troubles, they could just quickly sell it and get all the cash instead of being foreclosed on like we saw in the housing market crash of 2007, 2008. We're not in the same kind of predicament now. When we look at people that are getting loans with lower credit rate scores and a bad history of paying off their loans, we're not seeing anywhere near the numbers that we saw back in 07, 06, 08. It's nowhere near close to those numbers. When we look at foreclosure starts, we're still very low. You might see some stuff in the news about how they've gone up and doubled and tripled, and you'll see all these different stats depending on how they actually spin the story. And that stuff is true, but please again remember when you're hearing these stories that we had moratoriums where people could not be foreclosed on. People could actually stay in their home rent-free. We had all these things going on that prevented anyone from actually even being able to be foreclosed on. So when you look at those numbers and you compare them historically, we are still well below foreclosure numbers that we've seen. You know, when we look back to 2015 to 2019, we're still significantly below those numbers. So we're nowhere near that. We don't have the overbuilding that we had back in 07 and 08. Technically, our market is still very much in a seller's market. So historically, what we look at is the monthly supply of inventory. What that simply means is how many homes are being bought every month versus how many homes that are available. So let's just use super easy math. Let's say 1,000 homes are bought every month and there are 6,000 homes that are available for those buyers. We have 6 months of inventory, which actually creates a balanced market. For a seller, they're still seeing appreciation on their home, and for the buyers, there's still enough options for them to be able to find the right property for them. Anything less than that, there is not enough options for all the buyers that are out there. Anything more than that, there's too many options, there's not enough demand, and supply is too high, and that starts to create negative pressure on prices. Right now, we're at 2.8 months of inventory, so we're still very much in a seller's market from the standpoint of inventory. Now, what we have seen is a gigantic shift because we were in such an extreme seller's market. Some sellers are, kind of panicked because if they don't sell their house in the first weekend, that creates a little bit of this, oh my gosh, what's happened? Because they were so used to the last 2.5 years, which again were anomalies. There's a lot of big changes and things that happen that were not in line with our normal, typical, everyday life. So I say all those things to say, right now, all the big forecasters, people that look at this stuff every day, they're not projecting any kind of housing market crash. If you look at the most pessimistic people who forecast this stuff, they're somewhere around a -3% appreciation for real estate, and that's a national number. Greenville overall right now is performing really well. Things that you really should keep in mind, make sure that you're doing all of your research and that you're learning and talking to someone local about what's going on with the real estate market, because I know right now there's a lot of people who have a lot of fear about the real estate market and its long-term impact. I think what we're seeing right now is we're moving back towards what we typically see in a real estate market, where we're seeing normal appreciation. It takes about 2 months to sell a house. Historically, if we go back 2015, 2019, those are what happened in our market. I hope this market report was really helpful for you. If you have any other questions about the real estate market, all my contact information is down below. I would love to be a resource for you to help you know what's going on here in Greenville and keep you informed as the market changes, because it changes weekly and monthly, and you should be the first one to know if you're considering making any real estate moves. Again, I'm Evan Whaley with the Whaley Group at Real Broker, and I would love to be a resource for you. Thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to catching you next month.